Councillors, I will declare the April meeting, ordinary council meeting of council open at 5:30 p.m. Acknowledgement of Country. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Shire of Derby West Kimberley acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout the Shire and the continued connection to the land, waters and community. The Shire would like to pay our respects to the people, the cultures and the elders past and present, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual and educational practices of Aboriginal people. I read a disclaimer. This meeting will be video recorded and live streamed on the Shire's YouTube channel, with the exception of confidential items and periods of adjournment as determined by the presiding member. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their voice and or image may be live streamed to the public. Recordings will also be made available on the Shire's YouTube channel and official website following the meeting. The official record of this meeting will be in the written minutes kept in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1995 and any relevant regulations. Councillors in attendance, we have Deputy President Carissa O'Meara in the room, Councillor Adam Cornish, Councillor Jeff Davis, Councillor Laurie Shaw, Councillor Leah Umberguy, Councillor Val Ross, and staff. We have Tamara Clarkson, our Chief Executive Officer, Wayne Neate, Director of Infrastructure, Jill Brazil, Director of Corporate Services, Megan Nashoda, Manager Operations Fitzroy Crossing. Megan is online. Steve Ross, Manager Project Delivery, Aaron Glaw, Acting Manager Corporate Services, Maria Sandoval, Human Resources Officer, Ryan Balderson, Executive Assistant, and Paris Miller, Executive Assistant. Announcements of visitors, we have none. Attendance via electronic means, we have Councillor Trish Galt. Applications for leave of absence, I have not received any, so we'll move forward. 7, responses to previous public questions taken on notice, we have nil. Public time, 8.1, public question time and public statements, there are nil. Disclosures of interest, I have 2. 9.1, declaration of financial interest. Councillor Umberguy, who is an employee of the organisation in relation to item 20.1. Councillor Davis, financial interest, paid employee of the Central Kimberley Football Association. Thank you. Declaration of proximity interest, I have none. Declaration of impartiality interest, I have none. Petitions, deputations, presentations and submissions, nothing. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, and the recommendation is on page 8, that Council confirm the minutes of the ordinary Council meeting held on 26th of March 2026 at the Gary Yearley Adult Education Centre, Fitzroy Crossing. Can I have a mover, please, councillors? Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Shaw. Any questions arising from those minutes? Nil. All in favour? 8, nil. Announcements by presiding person, myself, President's report. Without discussion, with the Easter break recently and our April OCM happening a week earlier due to our Anzac services. There has been a shorter than usual period of time between my reports, but no less busy. On April the 1st, the CEO, Aboriginal Engagement Manager, and I met with Minister Don Punch, Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, Water, Climate and the South West in Fitzroy Crossing. The Minister was in Fitzroy Crossing to announce the release of the draft Derby Fitzroy River Water Plan, and invited us to meet with him after this event. The Minister was accompanied by our local member, Davina Deanna. We took the opportunity to brief the Minister about projects our Shire are pursuing and to update him in relation to the Shire Economic Development Strategy draft, for which he was the Minister responsible for funding as the then Minister for the Kimberley Development Commission. On the 9th of April, I attended the pre-audit process meeting with members of our ARIC committee and RSM, our appointed auditors, and a representative from the Auditor General's office. This pre-audit meeting is part of the annual audit process, and we are on track to meet the requirements and time frames of our audit currently. On the 13th of April, I attended the presentation and announcements being made by Minister Swinburne, Minister for the Environment, at the offices and boardroom of the Dumble-Mungari Aboriginal Corporation. The Minister announced a WA Government package of $5 million in funding to support the Dumble-Mungari traditional owner development of cultural tourism at Garum Horizontal Falls. On April the 14th, I travelled to Fitzroy Crossing with the Director of Infrastructure and Manager of Aboriginal Engagement to meet with the Chairperson, Keith Williams, and Lisa Ann Holton, CEO of Bunnabul Aboriginal Corporation, in the morning, and then Brenton McKesey, CEO of Marrawarra in the afternoon. The meeting with Bunnabul representatives was mainly an opportunity to meet face-to-face and to then discuss mutual opportunities to work together going forward and to advocate on future projects that would be beneficial to the community. The meeting with Brenton from Marrawarra was to discuss roads in the valley, and particularly those roads to communities with which Marrawarra are engaged. The focus was to talk about mutual advocacy and lobby efforts with state and federal governments to try and increase funding levels for betterment and future maintenance of these important access roads. On the 15th of April, I attended the online Teams meeting of the North West Defence Alliance. This meeting was the first quarterly meeting that had been held over due to Cyclone Narelle. Councillors will have received the questionnaire around defence preparedness from this meeting, and I look forward to your thoughts in relation to this. A new Treasurer was appointed, and there was a representation from Christmas Cocos Islands who have now been invited to participate. On Tuesday this week, the CEO and Aboriginal Engagement Manager met with representatives from the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation, DWER. We discussed the recently released draft water plan for Derby and the Fitzroy River, and took the opportunity to express our strong view that we as the key local government in this plan have the opportunity to be represented on the proposed advisory council should this eventuate. In addition to this, we will develop and present to council for endorsement a draft submission in relation to the plan and as requested by DWER and government. That ends my report. Thank you, councillors. Recommendations and reports of committee, 13, there is nil. Reports, item 14, 14.1 of a award of tender T5-2526 for Nicholson Oval replacement lighting. And the recommendation reads that Council 1 awards tender T-25/26 Nicholson Oval lights for the design, supply and installation of sports field lighting at Nicholson Oval to Kalamunda Electrical. 2, approves budget amendment to 1411039000 rec stroke infrastructure other, and 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract in accordance with the scope of works within the tender. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nothing heard. All those in favour, put your hands up, please. Sorry, I need a mover and a seconder first, don't I? Found Councillor Cornish, seconded. Councillor Davis. All those in favour, put your hands up, please. Carried 8-0. Thank you. Corporate Services. 15.1 Council Policy Management, Rescind Employee Housing Policy. Recommendation is on page 19. Start again. Page 13, sorry, councillors. That council by absolute majority rescind council policy provision of employee housing policy attached. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Ross. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nothing heard. I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 8-0. 15.2 Annual Review of Delegations. You have the attachments for that. The recommendation is on page 19 and reads that council by absolute majority, 1, adopts the attached Shire of Derby West Kimberley Delegated Authority Register 2026/2027, and 2, directs the Chief Executive Officer to publish the Delegated Authority Register on the Shire's website. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Ross, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nil heard. All those in favour, raise your hands, please. Carried 8-0. (15.3) Statement of Financial Activity, March 2026. On page 22, the recommendation is that Council receives the monthly financial management report incorporating the Statement of Financial Activity for the period ending 31 March 2026. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Umberguy, seconded. Councillor Shaw. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nothing heard. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Item 15.4, Accounts for Payment, March 2026. Recommendation is on page 51. That Council accepts the list of accounts for March 2026 paid under Delegated Authority in accordance with Regulation 13 (1) of the Local Government (Financial Management Regulations 1996), totalling $1,456,964.15. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cornish, seconded. Councillor Ross. Questions or clarifications, councillors? Nothing heard. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Community Services, item 16.1. Councillor Davis notes that Councillor Davis has left the room, having expressed a conflict of interest. The recommendation is on page 74 and it reads that Council 1 authorises the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a community facility licence agreement between the Shire of Derby West Kimberley and Central Kimberley Football League Incorporated for the use of the Fitzroy Crossing Oval, canteen, change rooms and toilets for the purposes of hosting fixtures associated with the 2026 Central Kimberley Football League competition. 2, approves the licence fee of $8,082, including GST, and a refundable facility hire bond of $500 for the use of the Fitzroy Crossing Oval, canteen, change rooms and toilets for the duration of the agreement. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor O'Meara, seconded Councillor Shaw. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nothing heard. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Apologies, 7-0. Would someone, thanks Wayne, if you'd let Councillor Davis know to come back in the room, please. Councillor Davis, for your information, the recommendation was carried 7-0. Item 17, Development Services, we have nil. Item 18.1, Sealed Roads Management Plan 2026-2031. Recommendation is on page 103 that Council endorse the Sealed Roads Management Plan 2026-2031. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor O'Meara, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nothing heard. I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Item 19, urgent business, there is nil. Item 20, matters for which the meeting may be closed. Councillors, can I have a mover that we go in close the meeting? Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Davis. All those in favour of closing the meeting, raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Councillor Umberguy, having declared an interest in this item, will leave the room.